Jake here for American Muscle, and today I'm taking a look at the Automafia Racing ported Boss 302 intake manifold fitting 2011 to 2023 Mustang GTs, as well as the 2012 to 2013 Boss 302. If you're looking to make more power out of your Coyote-powered Mustang, this is a great way to make that happen. It's basically an optimized Ford performance part that is sure to bring a noticeable difference even versus the standard Boss 302 intake. It's certainly going to be a bit of an improvement versus your factory manifold. Whether you're rocking a Boss 302 or just a standard 5-liter Mustang GT, many of us want some more power, and slapping on a Boss intake manifold is a trick Mustang owners have been using since the Boss 302 was first introduced back in 2012. The Boss's intake manifold features a larger plenum, longer runners, and slightly different routing, but it bolts directly to the head of any 5-liter Coyote V8 because it's a Ford factory part. It's like doing a cold air intake, but it's going to make an even bigger difference over stock when it comes to airflow. And better airflow means more power, and that's exactly why we're here. However, this one goes a few steps further as it's ported and polished. So this means that the intake runners and the inlet right here are bored out a bit versus your original part and cleaned up to make for cleaner, smoother airflow. And again, better airflow equates to more power. Now, we're not going to be throwing this on our dyno, but Automafia Racing claims up to 17 more horsepower versus a standard Boss 302 intake. And that intake alone can sometimes generate up to 40 more horsepower than a standard GT intake manifold, so you do the math there. Keep in mind that your results may vary depending on what else you have done to your car, as well as the condition that it's in. However, that porting and polishing really does make a difference, as again, it changes up the airflow, allowing the engine to breathe better. Now, an engine is basically an air pump, and thus more air in means more air out, which means that it can do its job better. Now, this intake also brings with it more torque and a slightly different power curve. Now, these Boss manifolds make more power higher in the rev range versus the standard intake manifold, and the same holds true here. As opposed to your stock setup that just splits the air down the runners, this collects it all in this large box right up here, and it's pulled down to the individual cylinders through these nice long runners. Now again, those are also longer than what you get on your factory stock GT intake manifold. And that's going to allow for higher air velocity, better flow, and again, make you more power. It really lends itself well to the Coyote V8's high-strung, rev-happy nature. Probably going to find yourself matting the throttle all the time just because you want to hear it and enjoy the sound. Overall, this is going to make a difference for you even if you're already rocking a Boss 302, and it will be an even bigger difference if you're driving a standard GT. Now, I like this sort of modification because it does have measurable benefits, plus it's basically an OEM factory part, and it really works well with the Coyote's power band. You get the torque of a V8 with more of that peak horsepower and high revving nature that a naturally aspirated engine is known for. Not going to hurt if you decide to go forced induction later on down the line either. And again, having that porting and polishing here is just going to open it up all that much more versus a standard Boss 302 intake. Now, it is worth noting that while this does bolt right onto the engine, you are going to have to do a few other things in order to get this setup functioning properly. For example, you're going to need to get an aftermarket intake or a standard Boss 302 intake. You're also going to need a map sensor extension if you've got a standard GT. However, these are all minor things, and let's face it, if you're shopping for an intake manifold like this, you've probably already got yourself a cold air intake or a list of stuff that you're going to do while you're in there. I'd also highly recommend getting a tune and considering getting a CMCV lockout when you do this swap, again, if you're coming from a standard GT. Now, it may sound like a lot, but with a while you're in there sort of mentality, it's best to have these things ready and on hand so you can get right back out and enjoy the fruits of your labor once you've got this installed. Now, much like any stock manifold, this is going to be made from a high-strength, heat-resistant composite material, so it will hold up just like your factory unit. And again, because it is a factory Ford part, it includes all the new gaskets that you need as well, including the bolts and hardware already ready to go. So you're going to get the same type of quality that you'd expect from an OEM Ford part. Plus, you get that extra refinement of the porting and polishing process that will further enhance airflow. It's also worth noting here that the starting point for this is a brand new intake, not a used one. So it's ported and polished right out of the box from Ford. That means you get all the benefits of a brand new Boss 302 intake manifold with just a little something extra. One thing I do want to make a note of though is that when you do go to install this, make sure you go ahead and clean this out pretty nicely because there might just be a little bit of debris left from the porting and polishing. So it's worth taking an extra couple minutes just to clean it out, make sure it's nice and clean and ready to go. While there's not going to be debris from the road or oil from some other engine that it was on, just the nature of the fact that they are taking off material during this process might mean that a little bit is left behind. So just take a couple extra minutes, get it cleaned up before you go ahead and install it. Well, all of this does come at a price, and this one's going to run you about $725. It's maybe not as expensive as you might expect, but given that the manifold itself retails for about $400, I'd say this is a pretty good price considering all you're getting. Again, this is a brand new intake manifold right out of the box, and it comes already worked over and ready to go. You'd be hard pressed to get a manifold and have the work done separately for less than what you'd spend buying this. So with that in mind, I definitely call this a good value for money in the category. And if you're looking to make bigger power, whether it's naturally aspirated or you're planning on forced induction down the line, this is going to be a great way to do it that's not going to totally ruin the budget for your build. Installation is going to get a 3 out of 3 on our difficulty meter and should take you around 2 or so hours to complete. Now, like I mentioned, the manifold itself is going to bolt right into place on the heads of your engine, but you will need to do quite a bit of disassembly to get there. And you're also going to need to get a few other pieces like we discussed earlier to have the car be fully functional when you're done. So plan on spending some time on this one. But I think you're going to find that the results are worth it. That's going to wrap it up here for our review of the Auto Mafia Racing ported Boss 302 intake manifold fitting 2011 to 2023 Mustang GTs, as well as the 2012 to 2013 Boss 302. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, for all things Mustang, be sure to keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.